I want to welcome everyone to today's public hearing of the Prosecutor Vetting Commission. I'm Christopher Lehman, the chairperson of the commission, and I declare this session to be open. Our commission is established under Law 252 on the external evaluation of judges and prosecutors. Article 22, paragraph 13 of that law provides that this commission will assess candidates for the Superior Council of Prosecutors Selection and Evaluation Board, according to the procedures and criteria regulated by Law 26 of 2022, on measures related to the selection of candidates for the position of members in the self-administration body of the prosecutors. The hearing is being conducted under the Commission's rules of procedure for evaluations under Law 26. The subject of today's hearing is Elena Demian, a candidate for the Superior Council of Prosecutors Selection and Evaluation Board. Ms. Demian, welcome to the hearing. I'm joined today by my colleagues on the commission. I will start from the far right, Nadezhda Hribtievsky, Irmantis Michelonis, Tatiana Raducanu, Saskia de Vries, and on my far left, Cornel Lebedinsky. The commission is also assisted today by members of our secretariat. The hearing is open to members of the public and members of the media. The hearing will be conducted with interpretation into both English and Romanian. To allow for accurate interpretation, I would ask the candidate to please speak slowly and clearly when she's answering questions or making a statement. The proceedings are being recorded. The recordings of the Commission's public hearing will be available online within 3 days at the Commission's website. The website is www.vettingmd.org. That should be available within 3 days after the hearing. Ms. Demian, during the hearing, one or more members of our Commission will be asking questions to you. Please answer them truthfully and completely. Your explanations are important to the Commission in verifying your financial and ethical integrity. In formulating our questions, we will take into account your privacy, and where required and possible, the privacy of your family members and any close persons. So we will leave out any unnecessary details relating to ID numbers, bank account numbers, specific addresses of real estate, and so forth. For the protection of your own privacy, we would ask you to do the same in answering any questions. At the end of the hearing, we will provide you with an opportunity to make a closing statement. I'll start by briefly reviewing the evaluation process to date for candidate Demian. The Commission initiated its evaluation process on the 22nd of December 2023 by notifying the candidate by email and asking her to complete and return an ethics questionnaire and a financial declaration form. The candidate returned the questionnaire, the completed questionnaire and the declarations on the 29th of December 2023. As part of the evaluation of the subject's ethical and financial integrity, the Commission also obtained information from many other sources, such as the National Integrity Authority, the State Fiscal Service, the General Inspectorate of the Border Police, other public institutions, financial institutions, and open source materials. The Commission assesses the information it obtains from these sources for relevance and for reliability. The Commission also sent the candidate three rounds of questions on 15 February 2024, 27 February 2024, and 15 March 2024, to which the candidate responded. On March 22nd, 2024, the Commission invited Ms. Demian to attend today's hearing. At that time, we notified the candidate of the specific topics to be covered at this hearing. Elena Demian, I thank you again for appearing today. I'll begin with a few brief questions for you, and we ask you to respond in a complete and truthful manner to those questions. Ms. Demian, first, do you wish to make any additions or corrections to any of the answers that you have already provided to the Commission's request for information? Please use your microphone and speak.
Thank you, esteemed members of the Commission, esteemed chairperson of the Commission. As for any additions or anything to add to what I already provided, there's nothing for me to add. There were answers that I provided to the questions of the Commission, and in my opinion, all that information I provided is completely truthful. If, however, there is any follow-up question, I'm ready to answer any such question.
Thank you. And just for the record, are the answers that you provided in the 5-year financial declaration and in the ethics questionnaire that you returned on the 27th, I believe on the 29th of December 2023, are those still accurate as of today? Thank you.
Yes, certainly.
I'm now going to give the floor to my colleague, Ms. Hryptievsky, who will be following up with some additional questions.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Bună ziua, doamnă Demian.
Good morning, Madam Demian. As you were informed in the invitation to the hearing, we will start today's discussion by addressing the matter of the price of the garage that you and your husband purchased in 2020. 35.8 square meters garage located in Chișinău. Are you using now that garage, you or your husband or the both of you? Yes, we used it in 2020 when my husband resigned and he used to work in the borders of the Ministry of Interior. He was given some benefits, and we thought it was important to invest that money in some assets that would turn out to be useful in the future. So the garage was bought, and he and the seller entered into an agreement. They negotiated the price. They went to the notary authenticated that agreement, and as usual, the notary lets the parties to an agreement know about their rights and obligations and the risks should there be a termination of the agreement or should some provisions or terms of the agreement not be observed. In my opinion, that agreement was concluded in a legal way. The price had been negotiated before that, and there's a copy of the sale and purchase agreement that was annexed to the dossier, to the case file. There's only the signature of my husband. I was not there. I did not see that asset, so I trusted my husband with the purchase of that asset. It is my understanding that you said that you are using now this garage. It is both you and your husband. Yes, the garage is being used. So what is the current condition? Is it in a good condition? What is it like? I mean, is it usable? Well, it is located in an industrial area of Chișinău municipality. Well, initially when it was bought, there were just the 4 walls and the basement. So my husband invested in making sure we had power supply there, and then he put some tiles and made some renovation to the stairs. So for a long time, the garage wasn't being used. It was just left to be. In your annual declarations for 2020, 2022, including when it came to the leave of office declaration filed with the National Integrity Authority, and we will call them annual declarations. Well, there you indicated the price of 28,789 lei for that garage. In the annual declarations of the husband, it says 40,000. So could you please explain, first and foremost, when was it that you indicated in your declaration the amount of 28,000? I mean, when you did that on the basis of what? What served as a basis for you to indicate that amount in your declarations? As I said, there was some miscommunication between myself and my husband, and so when I filled in the declaration of assets and personal interests, when I filled it in, I asked my husband about it. I found out that he bought it. It was a little bit of a surprise for me. Maybe he had this idea in his mind to buy it, but I trusted him fully, and I was always convinced that everything he did was for the sake of the family. So I asked him for information about the amount paid for the garage. I did not have access to that agreement, so it was out of what he said. I trusted his words, and I put down the amount that he told me he paid. Now, at this moment in time, I realized that, well, after having analyzed that agreement, after having looked into it, I realized that the amount of 28,000, that is the cadastral value of the asset. I guess it didn't cross my mind to check his declaration, to cross-check and see if the information was consistent. I guess it was my omission. Understood. And, well, you were given this question according to the information available to the Commission that the Commission received from the real estate company Lara. The average value of non-residential spaces, similar non-residential spaces in the same area of Chisinau as your garage, in 2020, the price was about 140,000 lei for an asset like that in that area of Chisinau in 2020. So, be it 28,000 or 40,000 lei, it is understanding that your husband paid 40,000. Is that right? Yes. So then 40,000, I mean, it's practically a difference worth 100,000 lei for that asset. Thank you for this question. The amount that was indicated in my declaration of assets and personal interests, that is the cadastral amount, that is the cadastral, it reflects the cadastral evaluation of that asset. As for the 40,000, the amount put down by my husband, then that is in the agreement, it is the amount negotiated by him and the person who sold the garage. They reached consensus with regards to that amount, and there was the agreement signed at the notary, and in my opinion, that is what gives legality to that, because the notary authorized it or so certified. Otherwise, the notary could have signposted or warned about certain risks or issues, or the notary would have informed the parties to the agreement about the potential issues if there was an issue with the amount. As regards the amount that the difference between the amount that was actually paid and the amount that was presented by the real estate company, as regards that difference, I could say that perhaps that amount that the specialists of that company arrived at, I think that that is a real amount, but in my opinion, that is too big an amount, because the garage that we purchased was in a deplorable condition, as I previously stated as well. There was nothing there. We had to set up the shelves, to put tiles on the surfaces, and it was not connected to power supply. So there had a lot of work was invested into making that garage proper for using it for the purposes it was intended for. Understood. But do you have any pictures? Is there any proof, any evidence as to the bad condition that the garage was in that led to a difference of about 100,000 lei? Well, I don't know for certain. There was rust on the gates, on the doors of the garage. And this garage... Well, there are certain garages that have annexes, for instance. There's something built on top of the garage, for instance. And there's a construction on the top of our garage, but it doesn't belong to us, and it did not belong to the previous seller, to the previous owner. So probably somewhere who lived nearby built it. So that garage, in my opinion, has been... Well, the price for the garage was determined as the parties to the agreement agreed. But you mentioned just now some investments made into the garage, and as you communicated to us, still, do you have any rough idea about what the investments were? Were the investments greater than 25,000 lei a year? I don't have precise information regarding the investments. All the works performed, all the refurbishments were contributed to by friends. So my husband would take along his friends to the garage, and some of our relatives also gave a hand and helped with the tiles and then painting the walls of the basement. The brother of my husband is an electrician, and he helped with the power supply. But when were the renovations carried out? In what year were those renovations performed? Was it in 2020 when it was bought? Well, along the way, one step at a time, in the spare time that he had, and when they were available to do these works at the garage. So that's when my husband, with relatives, with friends, they all worked for the refurbishment of that asset to make it usable. In the 5-year declaration, you did not put down any costs regarding the renovation of that garage, so you didn't have any. No one know, because there was not a significant amount spent for that. As regards your husband, did you talk to him? I understand that you don't know who used to be the owner of the garage. I don't. But after you were asked the questions, should the owner of the garage have paid taxes with, regarding that garage, if he was paid 40,000 or more, should that owner have paid taxes? Well, I don't know details about it, not at all. I know that when my husband retired from the Ministry of Interior bodies, he wanted to buy a garage to do some activities that he thought important for him. That's where we kept certain assets of the family, certain goods, so to speak, things that we can't keep in the apartment, we kept there. I don't know who the seller was. I don't know the details around the negotiation of the price. I know nothing about those details. All I know that this asset was purchased by my husband at his own initiative. Maybe he wanted to surprise me, so to speak, about making decisions on his own. Could a smaller price have been negotiated like that to avoid capital gain taxes being paid by the seller? I don't know. In this situation, I think it's a risk for the seller. So when he put down his signature in the agreement, he assumed certain risks. He understood the terms of the agreement, and I guess he was aware of the legal provisions around the procurement of assets like that. We might know the law to a certain extent, but most of us have some knowledge about the law. So I guess the notary too informed the parties about certain details that had to be known as far as that agreement was concerned, including about tax-related issues. Understood. I have no other questions regarding this particular subject. Do other members have questions regarding this? I have a question. Thank you. Good morning. Now, your husband received, what is the amount the husband received? Is it the one that was in the agreement? So my husband bought it, so he paid the amount that was in the agreement, 40,000 lei. And how was that amount in cash? How did your husband pay? In cash? Yes, in cash. Thank you.
I'm just curious, what is the garage used for today? What does your husband use it for?
Thank you for this question. This garage is now used to keep away certain things of our family, certain goods of our family. We don't have enough room for them inside our apartment, so we keep it there.
Thank you. Oh, and the structure above the garage, does that appear to be connected to the garage?
No, not at all. It has nothing to do with the garage. It is perhaps a construction just made by some other owners of the neighboring garages.
Okay, thank you.
If I may ask a question regarding the filling in of declarations of assets and personal interests. You stated that you put down there the information that your husband shared with you. As far as we know, the new form for these declarations were in the real estate part. There are three compartments: the cadastral price, the actually paid amount, and the market value, and there has to be a reasoning, a justification of the difference. So you did not do that. You did not introduce there the average market value. You did not take that into account. And so did you or did you not provide any explanation for the difference between the amount actually paid and the average value, market value of such assets? As far as I can remember, the structure of that declaration of assets and personal interests, where the real estate chapter is, as far as I can remember, there are two lines or two or three columns, as far as I can remember right now. So there is the real price, the one that was actually paid for, so the amount actually paid, and the market value, as far as I can remember. But right now, I cannot tell you what is it that I wrote. I think that not even my husband wrote anything as for a justification in that particular column as to the difference between the price actually paid and the average market value. As far as I can remember, the seller was an acquaintance of my husband, so they negotiated and then they agreed on that price that was put down in the sale and purchase agreement. Thank you. Just a clarification, you said that the garage is being used by both you and the husband, so not only by the husband. Is that right? Is that what you said in the beginning of the hearing? In that garage, we put away things that belong to us, things that belong to myself and to my husband, such as the tires, some foodstuffs, and many other things. Now, the next issue is about the price of a Toyota car.
So sorry, I have one question regarding the garage. Could you aware about the real market price of this garage now, this year?
Well, I didn't consider that as a task. I didn't think about finding out what is the market value of this garage now. So I personally couldn't provide an answer or a comment regarding the value of this asset because I don't feel I'm knowledgeable in this field. I don't have the knowledge and I don't have other information to be able to provide an answer. But in this particular situation, I completely trusted my husband about what he did. Thank you. And now I would like us to move on to the next issue regarding the price of the Toyota. On 27 July 2021, your husband purchased a Toyota car, year of manufacturing 2013. According to the sale and purchase agreement for the car, the price was put down as 10,000 lei in the annual declarations for 2021, 2022, and in the leave of office declaration, and in your husband's annual declarations for 2021, 2022. The value for this car was put down as 100,000 lei, while the market value was put down as 160,000 lei. That is a difference of about 60,000 lei, or about 3,000 euros. That was the difference between the price paid and the market value. Is this correct? Do you confirm this? Can you nevertheless tell us how much did your husband pay for that car? My husband paid the real price in cash. That was the 100,000 lei. Can you explain why the price he paid is 10 times smaller than the price that was in the agreement? The agreement says 10,000 lei. I've learned about it when I looked at that agreement. So out of discussions with my husband, I realized that the seller of that car agreed with the price in the sale and purchase agreement of the car to be 10,000. So they granted a firm agreement, practically they agreed firmly with that, the seller agreed. So if they firmly accepted that, then the suggestion of 10,000 lei came from your husband. If they accepted firmly that, no, not at all, not at all. They've agreed upon it following negotiations. So it's a price agreed upon by the parties. They've agreed on the amount of 100,000 to be paid. But when they drafted the sale and purchase agreement, both of them agreed to put down the amount of 10,000 lei. Why? Well, I can not answer that. I don't know about it. Does it have to do with avoiding paying taxes for capital gain? Was that a reason? Could this have been the reason, as in avoiding to pay capital gain taxes in relation to the sale of that car by the seller? Do you mean who exactly? Who would avoid? The seller, and your husband helped the seller avoid paying capital gain taxes.
Nadia, the translation is lagging behind the back and forth, so if you could maybe go a little more slowly, we're not getting everything.
Deci dumneavoastră ați spus că prețul a fost negociat.
So you said that you negotiated the amount, that they negotiated the amount. So they negotiated a price that was 10 times smaller. Was the reason for that the desire to avoid paying capital gain tax? So the seller wanting to avoid paying capital gain tax. It turns out your husband helped the seller to avoid paying capital gain tax. Is that correct? I guess yes. I guess so. Every time an agreement is entered into and some terms are agreed upon, the parties to the agreement negotiate. And the law specifically provides for the need to avoid putting any pressure, psychological pressure, to have any of the parties put any psychological pressure on the other party in order to agree on some terms of the agreement. I feel certain that not my husband and neither the seller, as parties to the agreement, I am certain that they did not impose any psychological pressure in order to agree on that amount of 10,000 lei. That price was agreed on voluntarily by the parties without any external or internal factors or pressure whatsoever. Still, why? Why what? Why would they indicate an amount that is 10 times smaller? Well, the situation, though I might repeat myself, I was not there when they entered into that agreement, or when my husband selected that car and when he checked the fitness of that vehicle, and in terms of a negotiation of the terms of the agreement, when they would enter it, when the payment would be made. I did not participate in any of those steps around this transaction, the sale and purchase transaction. Thank you. Can you explain why the value of the asset there is 60,000 lei smaller than the market value? I believe that they've negotiated it like that, and the seller is an acquaintance, or farther acquaintance of my husband, so it's an acquaintance, they're not friends now. But it's in 3 declarations that you've been putting down different prices. Didn't this make you wonder about it? What do you mean as different? What was it different? I mean, the market value of that car was bigger, and that is bigger than the amount actually paid, so didn't that make you wonder about it? In the declarations that I filed with NIA, I remember there are 2 columns. The price that was actually paid, the amount that was actually paid for the car, and the market value of the asset. So 100,000 and 160,000. If the purpose was, if the seller or if the buyer, if my husband had the purpose to hide that actually the price that was actually paid, then I think that they would have just used the 10,000 amount all the time. So I think that my husband was open, and I and him, we declared openly the information, truthful, the actual information. When you declare the amount for that car, you did that on the basis of what? Is it on the basis of the agreement, on the basis of the statements of your husband or the friend of the husband? On the basis of the statements of the husband, was that communicated to you? So did that come from the, when you said statements, do you mean you looked up the declarations, or did he tell you that? When he told me that amounts, I totally trusted everything he was sharing with me. I trusted all the details. Are you using that car, or is that the car of your husband? Yes, I use it. Since when? It was bought for me. It was bought for me. It was a surprise.
When was it? Since when do you use it? Since 2021. Okay. But you never declared the right to use it. Do you have anything, or? This property is a joint property of spouses. It's owned half and half by wife and husband. So it wasn't necessary to conclude an agreement on the use free of charge of his car. According to the database of the Ministry of Interior, you committed 4 traffic violations using that car. Is that right? Yes. You admitted them all and you paid the fines. Yes, I did. One of them was related to priority traffic signs, and 3 of them were speeding tickets. Yeah, but speeding was not that significant. Well, 2 were 10, 20 kilometers speeding, and the other one was 30 to 40 kilometers. Could you please say why didn't you mention these misdemeanors in your ethics questionnaire you filed with the Commission? I can't recall now what was the content. I think there was a section there. If you were part of some civil, criminal, and administrative litigations, at least I did not see the word contraventional liability, because I would have provided answers. The question in the questionnaire was the following: have you ever been a party to a civil, contraventional, or criminal case? Well, it means would you like to add anything else to this topic or not? Well, if there are any more clarification questions, I'm ready to answer. Otherwise, I don't have any other information. You also failed to mention in the ethics questionnaire the fact that you paid a fine for delayed filing of the declaration in 2023. Do you confirm it? Yes. Did you file it at your own initiative but later, or how did it happen? It was of my own initiative. When I was a member of a board for the evaluation of judge performance, I worked for a year and a half, and then the work of that board was suspended because many colleagues stopped to work because their mandate expired, and the work of that board by contest or decision of a General Assembly of Judges, but the General Assembly of Judges hasn't taken place for a long time. And then the board was not working. Do you mean that it wasn't clear what the date when it finished? But let's clarify the dates. You filed it 5 days later. Is that right? Well, I remember there was a delay. Would you like to add anything? No. Any other members?
Before we go on with the questioning, I'm just going to remind the members that we need to speak slowly and clearly so that we can hear the translations properly and not have it rushed. Thank you.
Ms. Demian, when was the first time you saw the sale purchase contract and you saw the amount in that contract? in both cases? The first time. When was the first time? When filing the declaration, when concluding the contract, or when was the first time that you became aware or you saw that the contract states 10,000 lei and not 100,000? Are you talking about the car sale purchase? Yes. I became aware recently when the evaluation started. I don't understand. Once more. When did you find out about it? When did you see the contract? In the autumn of 2023, when I filed the documents to run for membership of the board. When your evaluation started and you were asked about it. Yes, exactly. Before that, did you see the contract? No. No. Didn't you ask for it from your husband? No. Okay, thank you. If I may, a clarification question. Did you manage to get familiar with the provisions of Law 26 of 2022 under which you are evaluated? Specifically, the candidate evaluation criteria and the rights of a candidate during the evaluation process? Yes, of course. Well, of course you know that. Thank you.
Let me ask if there's any other questions for the candidate. Okay. Ms. Demian, thank you for your testimony today. I'd like to give you the opportunity to make any closing statement at this point that you would like to. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much, esteemed commission members, esteemed chairperson. I would like to express my gratitude to the Secretariat, with whom we had a fruitful cooperation related to sharing information, question rounds. This has been a quite good experience for me, and it will be a challenge as well in order to determine certain details when legal acts are concluded that we as members of the society conclude. I am grateful to my husband, to my family members who were open to provide information. And finally, I would like to wish everyone a nice spring and peaceful souls and, well, peace for everyone.
Thank you for your participation in the evaluation process and at the hearing today. We'll deliberate on the matter and issue a decision at the earliest possible time. So I'll declare the hearing is closed. Thank you.